Hello, I am Professor Ogbuagu Ugorji Udensi. Welcome to this episode of the Policy Tension series, where we peel back the layers of global climate strategy to reveal the underlying truth. We've been told a simple story for decades, that solving climate change is primarily a technological challenge, a matter of switching our energy sources from fossil fuels to renewables. It is a narrative of simple substitution. But what if that story, as comforting as it is dangerously incomplete? What if it misses the fundamental nature of the challenge we face? What if we are focusing on the pipes when we should be looking at the entire building? What if net zero is not an energy transition at all? What if we are looking at the wrong map for this journey? Today, we analyze why the current path may be leading us further away from our actual goals. While we celebrate every new wind farm and every solar array, the old system persists. It remains largely unchanged in its core behavior and its voracious, expanding appetite for energy. We are building the new on top of the old. The data tells a sobering and different story. Despite the record-breaking growth in green energy, global greenhouse gas emissions are still rising. They have not yet reached the peak we so desperately need to see. This gap between our frantic activity and the physical results in the atmosphere suggests a profound misunderstanding. We are treating the symptoms of our high-energy culture rather than the systemic cause of the crisis. Renewable energy capacity is indeed expanding at a staggering, unprecedented rate. We see this growth in every corner of the globe, from the United States to China and throughout the European Union. It is a technological marvel. And yet, our total emissions remain stubbornly, dangerously high. This is the net zero paradox. Adding green energy to the grid is not the same thing as removing fossil energy from the global economic machine. Renewables are being added as an additional layer to our energy mix, but they are not yet replacing fossil fuels at the absolute scale and speed required. We are stacking energy sources rather than transitioning them. We often confuse activity with progress. We see the impressive growth of green energy and we assume the problem is being solved by default. But the physics of the atmosphere is entirely indifferent to our financial investments. The atmosphere only cares about the total number of carbon molecules we add to it each year. It doesn't care whether those molecules come from a thriving green economy or a traditional industrial one. The concentration is all that matters. If this were just an energy transition, a simple swap of fuels within an otherwise stable system, we'd be much closer to our goals. But it isn't. It's something much deeper and more resistant to change. In highly developed countries like the United Kingdom, Germany, and France, official territorial emissions do appear to be falling. This is often cited as proof that the energy transition is working. On paper, these post-industrial economies are decarbonizing. But when we look at the global system, that success is revealed as only part of a much larger, more complex, and frankly more deceptive story. Most nations only measure the emissions produced within their own borders. They ignore the vast carbon footprint of the goods, services, and materials they buy from the rest of the world to maintain their lifestyle. In reality, we have outsourced much of our manufacturing. And in doing so, we have outsourced our carbon responsibility to the nations that now produce our goods. We've cleaned our house by moving the trash to the neighbor's yard. We didn't eliminate those emissions from the global system. We simply relocated them from the consumption ledgers of the North to the production ledgers of the South. The planet doesn't care about our borders. Modern economies are not just energy systems. They are intricate behavioral systems, built on centuries of fossil-fueled assumptions about constant growth, endless expansion, and rising consumption. Everything we do, from how we design our sprawling cities and how we structure our work weeks, to what we eat and how we travel globally, is hard-coded into a high-energy, high-carbon model. While we focus on fixing the electricity grid, the rest of the system, our heavy industry, our heating infrastructure, and our global transport networks, remains tethered to that old, carbon-intensive model. Changing the energy source, while necessary, does not by itself change the underlying logic of the economic system. That logic is the true engine of emissions, and it is still running at full throttle. The uncomfortable truth that many leaders are reluctant to face is that technology is not the main barrier to achieving our net zero targets. The technology we need largely exists right now. We already have most of the engineering solutions we need. The real problem is not how we generate energy, but how we have designed a society that requires such an unsustainable amount of it. History shows that as we make technology more efficient, we often use that very efficiency as a license to consume even more. This is the rebound effect, and it is negating our technological gains. Technological optimism has, in many ways, blinded us to the urgent need for structural, systemic, and behavioral change across our entire civilization. We are waiting for a magic bullet that isn't coming. Systems behave differently than we often expect. Large, complex systems find ingenious ways to preserve their current state and resist fundamental change, even when facing an existential threat. Net zero isn't just a technical or an engineering challenge. It is a profoundly political and social one. It is a struggle over who wins and who loses in the reorganization of the global economy. It involves the fundamental redistribution of wealth, power, and opportunity. And history shows that those who currently hold power rarely relinquish it without a significant and sustained struggle. We say we want the result, a stable climate and a sustainable future. But as a society, we still struggle with the true cost and the political process required to get there. This is the ambition gap. Ultimately, achieving net zero means redistributing global power. It is naive to think this will happen through technological advancement alone without a change in our political and social structures. Much of what we call progress today is, unfortunately, an accounting illusion. We have become very good at counting only what is convenient for our institutional and national narratives. By focusing primarily on direct emissions, companies and countries can ignore the vast majority of their global impact, the emissions embedded in their complex globalized supply chains. It's not that those emissions have actually disappeared from the Earth's atmosphere. They have simply been moved from one country's ledger to another, while the total burden remains the same. We must be honest with ourselves and our citizens. Net zero is not an energy transition. It is a total, unprecedented transformation of our entire global economic and social system. It requires every gear in the economic and social machine to turn in a new direction simultaneously and with purpose. One gear alone, no matter how fast it turns, is not enough to move the system. The danger is that we are currently solving the wrong problem. We are trying to swap fuels while keeping the same unsustainable system, and we are doing it very efficiently. We are winning the wrong race. The question we must start asking is not, how do we transition our energy? That is a technical question. The real question is a human and a political one that we've been avoiding for too long. What kind of system are we actually transitioning into? What will our society look like on the other side of this transformation? We need to define the destination before we start the engine. The answer to those questions will determine the future of our species and the very habitability of our planet. Thank you for joining me for this analysis. I am Professor Ogbuagu Ugorji Udensi,